time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
Let's welcome into the show one of the listen, you cannot find anybody to say a bad word about Shean Donovan, which is hard in this hockey industry, especially when he's bag skating all the injured players. Shean Donovan, it's a pleasure to welcome you to our little show.
Big show. Thanks for having me. I like it.
Dono, you're the white whale. I had no idea. We've been big game hunting you for a while. First time on the show. I thought this was like your third time. You've never been on. What's like?
Well, I didn't want to get fired, so I could take some on here and get fired.
I'm glad you said this because I've asked for you for years, and well, it didn't go over well with perhaps certain management people. So I'm glad we didn't get you fired, and you're on the show.
Yeah, I'm still kind of hired.
Times are changing. Like Wally's allowed back in the building now, Dono.
Nice.
He was banned for 3 years.
Yeah, there were some dark days there, that's for sure. Sad.
There was, but brighter days ahead. Speaking of, you know what, Dono, I want to get right into Heater being in the building tonight because you played with them. Just your thoughts on what that line was like when they were on the ice with Heatley, Spezza, and Alfie.
I mean, it was just, even before I got here, I remember them being paired together and just lighting it up. I think I was in Calgary when they first got kind of put together here, and it was, I mean, they were just lighting up. I remember, I think they played Buffalo, and they were just, I mean, they're putting up gigantic numbers, and it was just a fun line to watch. I remember we played against them in Calgary, and they were the team to beat. They were the big high-flying Ottawa Senators. Were coming to town. The pizza line was lighting it up, and it was a test for us to play against them. And I was lucky enough to play with them. I never actually got on their line together to play actually with them, but from the bench, I seen them, and they were electrifying. And I was lucky enough to play with Heater also in Atlanta when he first came in, and it was just, I mean, he was incredible right from the start. I remember he came to our practice at the end of his Wisconsin season, and in the first practice, everybody's kind of looking at each other like, why the heck is this guy not here the whole season? Like, why did we not get this guy out of school? And then the next year, I remember a reporter asking me at the start of the year, because we had Kovalchuk and him as rookies, and they were kind of saying, could these two guys get 30 goals? Like, and at that time, young guys didn't score a lot of goals. I said, no chance. Like, just, you know, not to disrespect, these guys are pretty good, but like, there's no chance they'll get close. And I think Covey came really close, and Heater had maybe like 26 or 28 goals in his rookie season. And they were so much fun to watch. But what they got to play with Alfie was just a perfect mixture of Heater obviously being the shooter, Alfie doing a little bit of everything, and you know, and then Spez doing his, you know, doing the passing and carrying the mail through the middle of the ice and setting those guys up, and defensively. Obviously, Alfie and Heater did a lot of work down there, and
Wait a sec. Are you saying Heatley played D?
You know what? Actually, I think he was underrated a little bit defensively, like a lot actually. Really? When they played together, I think they carried a lot of the mail for that line, and especially Alfie. But I think Heater was a little underrated defensively.
I love it. Give it to Spets. Give it to Spets for not back check. I asked him to come on today. He said it was too busy.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give it to him then. Perfect.
All right. So can you confirm or deny Alfie would get so frustrated sometimes playing on that line because it wasn't always together. It would just be, hey, we need a goal today. Let's put the line back together. That Alfie got so frustrated with the way perhaps, let's say Spets would drop the puck back at the blue line that he requested to maybe not play on that line.
I'm sure that I didn't ever heard that or seen that. That was above my pay grade, and I was never in those fancy meetings. But
you guys would snowmobile to the rink together. How do you not know?
Yes, I would ask him a lot of stupid questions, but I never get into that. That stuff. No, I never really remember ever them kind of, but I do remember obviously we were playing Pittsburgh in the playoffs, and Greg Carvel, our coach, who's had a ton of success at UMass. Just kind of losing it. I forget, it was probably game 2 in Pittsburgh, and losing it on Spez, just being like, Spez, you got to start getting you can't drop the puck, and you got to be better, and just like losing it on him, like a whole spiel. And then we went out probably Spez's first 3 shifts, and I think he made like 5 draw passes. And I know he didn't do it in spite. And Spez was one of the best teammates. I love Spez. He's one of the most underrated people in the game. Sometimes I hear you'd hear from some people that didn't know him would be like, I don't know, you just hear not great things, but you should hear great things because he was an incredible teammate.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who brought the boys together. He would know everything about my family, your family. He would talk to you. He'd bring you out. He was just that glue guy that I don't think people really understood that from the outside, how important he was to that team.
I agree. All you had to do was look at Reno, the dad.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well,
no shoes on in the house. Like, he was a really good, lots of family values. And so I think Spetz was the same.
Let me ask you this, Dono. Let me ask you this, to Wally's point. So we just did our 25-year Sens team for 2000 to 2025. We had the pizza line. We got to get your team later because it's the second team we're all debate. But I put in the fact that any good team names room guys. So I had you as my room guy. Would you have Spetz as your room guy?
Oh yeah, I mean he'd be in there for just who he is and what kind of player he is. But I would for surely have him as a room guy. He was top notch. I mean he'd be the guy who would pick up a lot of checks. I mean Heater would pick up every check.
Really?
Dinners.
Heater was generous, eh?
Heater was super generous to the trainers. I couldn't get over how generous he was, and Spez was not afraid either. I mean, in every team dinner, they would make sure that all the guys were involved, especially Spez. And I remember we brought Spez at the end of the season. I had a hunting trip we brought a bunch of guys out to the bush, and the fake Todd White, not the real Todd White, my buddy from up north. So we brought him up north, and we had like 4-wheelers. It was like a 2-hour trip in. We had Chris Kelly and Carts, Dealer, and a whole bunch of guys. Some guys and Spez and Kells weren't really comfortable at the start in the bush, and it was really roughing it, and there was some booze involved, obviously. But when we got out, we had some guns and stuff, and I don't know if we should be saying that, but we were just like kind of practice, just doing some target shooting and stuff, and those boys didn't want to touch the guns. But by the end, Spez was shooting everything, was hoping an animal came out of the bush, and just loved it. And by the end, he actually went home, and I think he ended up getting a cottage in the Muskokas. So, anyways, we changed him.
Who else didn't want to touch the gun? Spetz didn't want that.
No, it was Chris Kelly. Chris Kelly
wanted nothing to do with it.
No, nothing to do with it. And in the ride in, we had kind of like a side by side. It's kind of where you don't get dirty, but it was a trip where you're getting stuck in mud and you're winching yourself out, and it was just a fun trip. And I remember Kel's sat in the van. We called it the van, the side by side. He didn't want to get dirty on the way in, but anyways, they made it in, and it was a fun week.
Dono, do you have to make a fire and stuff, and you're cooking beans and stuff out in the bush?
It was back in the bush. It was a hunt camp. It was far enough away too. You know, when you start drinking, you're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to town and hit the bars." And it was like we were too far away, thank God. And we were just everybody just passed out. We had a fun time, lots of laughs. We went fishing. We had a fishing guide, Shean Donovan, who's an ex-teammate of Neeler's, and it was funny because he would chirp him because he was a vet when Neeler was there. So it was somebody who, just had the nicknames and called Neeler the donkey. They just was hard on Neeler in a great way, like just ribbing him. And you don't usually see that because Neeler was kind of the alpha male by that time. And they brought us out fishing. Nick Foligno was out. Anyways, it was a fun couple of days in the bush.
Nick Foligno is such a good guy, eh?
Oh yes, he was. He got out there. He got pretty drunk on the boat and was stumbling around, breaking the guide's fishing rods. He didn't enjoy that too much, but anyways.
Hey, Wally and I were talking. Who was in the snowmobile club for the Sens that would snowmobile to the rink? Who was in that club?
Ray Emery had bought one, and Razor. Then he got it stuck in the kind of the field near across from probably where Tanger outlets are, and just kind of left it there. It was Alfie, and then I remember Redder got one, and Redder bought one, a brand new one, and then he hardly rode it. It sat in my garage for probably a year, and then when he got traded, he ended up gifting it to the trainer, Allegrino. And I was like, how dumb was I could have just offered him like $3,000 and got a brand new Skidoo. But anyways, that trainer got a nice new Skidoo.
Trainers got treated way better than in Ottawa than our first year in Boston. Remember we had to have the meeting about that?
Yeah, I've never had that meeting before, but Chard took care of that, eh?
It's pretty bad when Dono and I are tipping the trainers were the big boys.
Yeah, that was the Christmas there when Shirley came in and gave us trouble for not tipping enough. And anyways, everybody bucked up. And don't you remember when Chara actually, they had to give more money, and then Chara got he got kind of a signing at some kind of mall in Boston. And Stewie and some of the older boys were like, no chance, just give him the money. Come on, Chara. Come on, Big Z.
Yeah. Who gave Big Z the nail, the wallet with the nail in it?
That was you, wasn't it? That was you. That was, well, when Coach Lewis, obviously had that kind of the Hitler stash that he kind of had, and then
oh my God,
Mark Savard gave him the Mein Kampf book for the Secret Santa. Anyways,
we didn't win much in Boston, Wally, but oh my God, Dono and I played together in Boston for one magical year in 2007, 2006. We had so much, but sorry, it was 05, 06 because you were in Ottawa for 07. It was we weren't a very good team, but the shit that went on, oh my God.
Well, I remember you and Mark Savard always gang up. Chara's coming in, and he was like, I just followed him around in the testing. It was incredible. He could lift 1 million pounds and pull-ups. I remember 36 perfect pull-ups as a 6'9" guy. But so then every practice, he'd be like, after games when we'd struggle and stuff like that, and he's a new captain. He's trying to figure out his way. And, Big Z'd be like, we got to do more of this and more skating and more. And then all of a sudden, Yorkie'd be like, well, I don't know, Big Z. I think we've been skating a lot, actually. And then Mark Savard's like, yeah, we've been skating a lot. Maybe we've been skating too much. So Big Z was undermined that year. This guy.
That's why he won't come on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
We weren't losing because we weren't. We were losing because we weren't very good.
Yeah. Dave Lewis.
What a great guy. Dave Lewis, Dono, one of the best guys in hockey, eh? Old Red Wings assistant coach. Just he got hijacked in Boston.
Yeah, he did, and it was too bad. And he never really kind of what did he end up doing after that? I don't remember him seeing, like, he never coached again, did he? Like, as far as never a head coach, obviously.
I don't think so. To an advisor, maybe LA.
Spent 3 years with the Hurricanes as an assistant from 11 to 2014, but I thought at one point he went to Europe, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
You guys went 35, 41, and 6 that year.
Oh, boys. Yeah.
Yorkie was minus 14.
By the end of the year, my knees were so bad. I had 3 knee surgeries. Basically, I remember Dave Lewis comes up to me, Dono. He's like, Yorkie, you don't have to play anymore if you don't want. I know you don't got anything left. And he basically, I didn't play for 10 games in a row. Last game of the season, he puts me in because we were playing Ottawa. And I just knew that was it. When it's time, when someone's just going to take you out back and shoot you like old Yeller.
Yeah. I remember the exact second that I was like, I'm done, and it sucked. I wish I wouldn't have said that in my head, but you work so hard to stay in the league, and especially in the roles we played, you're not a top line guy, and it's not, you go to camp, it's hard. Every day, it's like you're just trying to stay in the lineup. I remember the exact moment. It was like when Kartner scored that triple overtime goal, and I sat on the bench for the halfway through the second, the whole third period, the first overtime, the second overtime, the third overtime. And Carts finally scored, and I was sitting on the bench going, yeah, I'm probably done. This isn't as much, it's so much fun winning, especially in a playoff game. But and then all of a sudden, the next game I played in game 6, I was on the ice all the time, and I was like, what the heck? Like, maybe I got to rethink this. But then I got scored against in overtime, and I said, okay, she's over. That was it.
I tell you, in my first year in Boston, I had never met Dono, Wally. And we all show up about a week early for camp. We do some pre-skates. Big Z's running these pre-skates, and they're awful. They're terrible. But I see this guy just on the ice. He's friggin' faster than everybody. He's better than everybody. I'm like, who the fuck is that? They're like, oh, that's Dono. I'm like, holy fuck, is he good? Like,
then they put all the bodies out there, and then the hockey sense had to come into play, and then it wasn't.
No, they pigeonhole you. Still one of the best runs ever. That Calgary Flames team you're on when you guys went right to the final. That was a great. What a run. Was that your most fun, Dono, that year?
Yeah, like honestly, it sounds strange. But my first year, I got sent down when I was 19, when the junior season was over, and I went and played in the IHL, and we made a run to the Turner Cup. We had no expectations, but down there, as crazy as it sounds, like obviously my whole thing was to get to the NHL and play in the NHL. But I had so much fun because it was just fun. There wasn't the pressure of the media or not. We just had fun. Man, we had fun off the ice. We were drinking all the time. Like, it was just fun. It was hockey and fun, and I loved it. The guys were great. But after that, obviously, that run in Calgary, we were a fun team. We had a lot of fun because to win in the NHL, You say what you want, but the closest teams always win. And the game's changed a little bit in certain ways, but still, I would imagine if you just took a poll of the teams that are tightest, have the most fun on and off the ice, they would be the teams that win. I mean, the Florida Panthers, look at that team. You just look at that group of guys, I'm sure they have fun. They have to. They look like they're kind of a group of all kinds of different guys, and man, they battle for each other and they go to war for each other, and they look like they probably have a lot of fun together.
There's something to that. There's definitely something to that. If you go back and look at all the teams, even when Washington finally won, like that, you could tell that was a close group with Ovi had changed, and it's like you said, you got to get to a point where everybody wants to play for one another, and you'll do anything for your teammate.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything. It's 82 games is hard, and you need those always struggles during the season in parts, and you need those fun Halloween parties and you just need stories that just get you through the hard parts of the season. And all those teams have, and when they get together, you just listen to them talk, and it's like, man, what a fun time. There's so many great memories. And the teams that you don't win, it's just like, you're just kind of getting through the season, like you're doing your things, you're doing your routines, and you're coming to the rink and doing what you think is right. But I mean, if you're like really clean cut, everybody wants that, they think, but you need different characters. You need some battles in the room. You need a few fights during the season. You just need some controversy and some fun. Like it's just, that's how you win.
Well, back to your days in Ottawa, then you had all of that, right? You had like Ray Emery, you had McGrattan, right? You had fights in practice. You had Emery not. I meant like John Paddock is like, I don't know where anybody is. I told him to beat it. That's when Emery goes, the coach told me to beat it, and he went back home. There was lots of stuff that happened. It felt like during that time. Even Heater was known as not the. Well, you said he was very good in the room, but not warm and fuzzy all the time. If you were to speak to him as a media member, I'll say, you had characters in that room.
Yeah, you need them. And there was characters there, and there was fights. I mean, Ray Emery and Brian McGrattan got into a fight in a bag skate, which is very unusual. But, I just remember Neeler and Spez getting after it.
Really?
I remember, Spez had his stick out at Neeler's throat, but Neeler snapped. There was some drill after practice, and I don't know what happened. But all of a sudden you look over, and there's Spez, and Neeler's just ready to kill Spez. And I just remember Spez obviously with a stick at Neeler's throat, just saying, this isn't happening, and swinging his stick a bit, and nothing did happen. But it was a tight team, and there was things that happened. And you had like Chris Neal, and I remember Alfie one time in Edmonton, and I was a new guy to the team, and I remember the door was kind of tight for the forwards in the second period in Edmonton, and I think Alfie had a bad shift, or I did, probably me, I guess. But anyways, I come off the ice and slam the door, or Alfie did, or whatever. One or the way or the other, it hit one of us, and I or he just said, whatever, screw off, that's enough, like settle down or whatever. And then we kind of got onto it on the bench a little bit, like, no, screw you, like whatever, like, and then it wasn't a big deal. But then I remember after, I'm naked in the shower, washing my hair, and then Chris Neal comes up to me, right up to me, we're both naked, and he goes, that's my captain. You don't ever talk to him like that. And then I was like, I got fired up because I was an older guy. I was like, Neeler, shut up. I've been in this league for a while here now. I don't have to hear about it. We'll deal with it ourselves. But Neeler was such a big team guy that, like, man, that was his captain, and he was going to do anything to defend him. And we got over it because it was what it was. But I mean, there was just like a ton of things like that, little things that happened, and guys that stood up for each other and really believed in the team, and that's why they had success.
Did Neeler ever prank you?
I pranked Neeler because Yablonski. Remember the tough Yablonski, Jeremy Yablonski?
Yeah. The MMA fighter.
Oh yeah, he was at my house. I didn't see him eat a carb. He was that first carnivore guy ever, I think. And what a nicest man ever. Usually the toughest guys are like the nicest guys, but man, he has some crazy stories. But
he's on the carnivore diet. He did he was a first carnivore diet guy, like just eating.
He'd come in the morning and eat about 10 eggs, and that was it. And then like my wife would cook some pasta. That's what I would eat, kind of in the afternoons or at night, and probably shouldn't have, I guess. Well, especially now. But anyways, you're eating. So he would have like just a steak. No tree. I just wanted steak or whatever, just meat. That was it. And if she wasn't cooking what he wanted, and no disrespect, he'd just go and make himself a big protein shake. But I remember in the skating test, Yabo used to do like the 6 down and backs. It was 30 seconds. And Yabo was the first out of the shoot, and I was up against him, and I'm supposed to be a fast guy. Yabo went down and back in about like the fastest by far. And I was like, this tough guy just beat me. I'm kind of losing it because I'm supposed to be fast. By the 6-1, Yabo couldn't make it down the ice. I think he's still trying to get back from that 6 slap, but he had energy for 10 seconds. But the point being is that, like, back to Neeler's, I had Yabo. So at the rink, it was kind of the summer still. And Neeler had his boat, and it wasn't a big boat, but he had a boat hooked up to his truck. And so me and Yabo came out. I said, let's unhook his boat and we'll hide it in the loading dock in the rink. Anyways, we come out and we were kind of hiding up top, and that comes in Neeler and no boat behind his truck, and he's ready to go. And so he's got to go look around for his boat or whatever. But anyways, he threatened the security guy for camera footage, and I had 4 flat tires about a week later. So the joke was on me.
That's pretty good. Should have known. I have a picture. I want to ask if this is regarded, well, I believe it is, the most feared man in all of bag skating. Guy. I can't tell you how many times your name has come up in the show about injured players and how they've had to go through your skates after practice or when they're rehabbing. Would you like to apologize to anybody?
No, it was. Hey, how much fun! I wish I do that now in the mornings. I don't do development anymore, and just help do that. But it's been a while. The team's been healthy, which is good for the team, and. But it's been fun. It helps me get in shape. It's an excuse to get on the ice and get in shape. And I don't know why I still like it, but I do. And it's I think Bob Hartley did so many of them that, like, I'm traumatized, PTSD, and I still like to see the boys sweat a bit. That's for sure.
Like Bobby Ryan would be like, "Oh, Dono," like, right? You skated him for like a month.
Oh yeah,
guys have no idea. No, they have no idea what hard work actually really is. Like really, really hard work, where you think you're gonna possibly die while you're doing. Like Donald, you told me a story back when you were with the old San Jose Sharks when you were a young guy. You said they would bring you in the summer and just basically put you through hell the entire summer.
Oh, yeah, I think that was the end. Before they used to be able to. I think the PA stepped in, but in Brainerd, Minnesota, kind of like our assistant GM was Chuck Grillo, and he's a legend up there, but he had a camp. And so we were like with 100 kids, and they were like, we stayed in little houses. So every guy that was drafted, be it Jeff Fries and Mike Ratchie, I don't care, anybody, the Missing Link Gates, Dodie Wood. It was like we were all up in these cabins, and we would have to get up. And this was all summer long. I'd leave my
all summer.
I got drafted in '93 in Quebec City, and my mom wanted to travel around Quebec City. And so I was like, oh, that'd be great with the family and stuff. But all of a sudden I got a call. It was like 2 days later, and it says, you got a trip to Nisswa, Minnesota. And I was like, well, okay, I'll be there in like 5 days because I'm not in North Bay right now to fly out. And Chuck Grillo just said, well, if you want to come to San Jose Sharks training camp, you'll be here. You'll be flying here, and you'll be here tomorrow. So we drove back, and I flew there. And then it was like the full summer. I remember I got like 3 or 4 days off for a wedding. And it just was – it was just – you couldn't leave. Like I remember Chuck Grillo showed me a book where you could train 365 days of the year without needing a break. He showed me that book and told me I didn't need a break. But we would wake up in the morning, and we would have a skate. And then we would travel like 20 minutes from the camp and have a skate, and then come home and have breakfast. And then we would do a training session. Then we'd have maybe an hour or two off. Then you had a training session. Then you had an optional skate. But Kevin Constantine was running the camp. He was our head coach.
Constantine was there?
He was running the camp. He was there because he lived there. That was like they were all together, that group of like Chuck and Kevin and Rob Grillo, who's a scout there, and Dean Grillo, who's an agent now. And they were optional skates at night, but you had to go because there was no way you couldn't go to the optional skates because your assistant GM and coach were running them. And then we'd have sessions where we would go over our systems and show us in the middle of the summer of like, and Kevin Constantine had really, he was very technical. And so the crazy thing was at camp is all these young guys knew that's why I got to play at 19 years old probably is because they just knew our systems and all the young guys knew the system. And Kevin actually got us we made it to the second round twice with not very good teams, but then he just pissed off the big boys too much. But by the end, I was there the whole summer. And then once in a while I played Bonky because IMG or CMG, whatever his agency was, they'd fly those guys in. We play exhibition games on the weekend against them. it was just like, it was full on. And I remember I went through the next season, and my first year, draft year, and then my next year I went to almost made the Sens, then went to World Juniors, and not the Sens, for the Sharks, and then played for the Sharks, went to Kansas City, made a run, went back up, played playoffs. I went to the finals in the IHL and played that. Then I went home for a week, and then I had another ticket back to Brainerd, Nisswa, whatever, Minnesota. And then, you know what? It was great because it helped my game so much, and it was a ton of work. But in the end, I don't know if I could ever do that again.
Could you imagine nowadays? Hey, you're drafted. By the way, you're going to Brainhurst, Minnesota for the whole summer for 12-hour days.
Oh, no chance. Though the agents wouldn't have any of it, and nobody would ever allow it. And it was cool, and I think it helped the Sharks with their young guys. And they had, I mean, the whole base of that team that ended up being good when Daryl Sutter came from a lot of those young guys that spent a lot of time there. But she was some hard miles there, that's for sure.
We had Andreas Johansson on a couple of weeks ago, and he had some great Kevin Constantine stories about him trying to change the culture in Pittsburgh and kicking Jagger off the ice. And you missed Constantine in Pittsburgh, didn't you?
Yeah, I wasn't there. I had him when I was younger, but no, he was hard on the, like, I remember Makarov, because I played with Leonov and Makarov, and what legends, right? Like, I got to play with like two guys of the KLM line, and I just remember he'd piss him off so much. And I remember looking in the third period, and 10 minutes to go in the game, and Makarov's pissed off. He's got his skates untied. And I'm just like, he's not going out. And Kevin's calling his name, and he's just shaking his head, niet, or whatever he says. And that's it. He's not going on the ice. And it was crazy. I mean, he would go at those big boys hard because he wanted the game played exactly the way he wanted, and he had success with it. But eventually, those guys, the big boys, like, they called him Little Tikhonov, right? Like, and they had Tikhonov, and they hated him. So obviously, that wasn't a term of endearment for Constantine.
Well, that's great. So for our younger listeners, like, people that forget, Makarov and those guys were legends in the Soviet Union. They were the first guys to come over, and then you get a coach. That's a pretty harsh comparison where they're calling them mini Tikhonov.
Oh, they did not. They didn't. And the thing is that the KLM lines, like, they were the guys who played against in that 87 series. They're playing against Mario Lemieux and Gretzky and Mark Messier and those superstars in the prime of their career. And they went the 3-game series, 6-5, 3-game series. And I mean, I think we're pretty lucky. We had some pretty good reffing there. They allowed anything. Like, Mark Messier could like elbow anybody in the chops. It was not even a call made. But anyways, do you ever
go back and look at the winning goal? What happens off that face-off in the 87? I think it's at Howardchuk that basically just chops the guy down and buries him after the face-off to create the outnumbered rush. It's awesome.
I mean, thank God it didn't go to Murphy. Larry Murphy always says, "Thank God I went to the right guy." But Mario got it, shelf goal.
Oh yeah.
By the way, what was it like to play with Mario Lemieux?
Oh, like, what a dream to, like. I remember he was the one guy that just I played against him my first time, and I was penalty killing. He's on the power play. I went up to check him, and he hadn't, for no reason. He just put it between his feet. Like, I was close to him, had a kind of a stick on him, and he just put it between his feet just for fun, and then saucered it back door and whatever. They probably scored, but it just, what a huge man. And like they say, he was 6'4". He looked way bigger, and just getting the practice. I remember the first practice. It was just like starstruck. I'd never been on the ice where I got to play against Gretzky a lot, and of course you see him with his skates and his stick, his silver stick he had, and the LA Kings stuff. But Mario Lemieux was just a giant man that just, like, controlled the game, and you knew he was out there the whole time. And I remember my first practice, Jamie Pusher. It's one-on-one. It's hard to beat somebody one-on-one, a straight one-on-one down the ice, but he put it through his triangle and kind of got just like a step on him, and then backhand shelved it. Just the most classy way you can imagine. It looked like he's going half speed, and he just went backhand shelf. It was in the net and back in the corner. Everybody's just like, well, that what just happened? Like, that's just incredible. Like, and I remember watching from in the games on the half wall, he'd be there and on the power play, and he'd just be standing there with the puck, and I can't be sitting there going, why is nobody going at him? Like why is nobody going at this guy? And then all of a sudden David Karpa decided to go at him, and he just put it between his feet, backdoor goal. And I was like, that's why you don't go at him.
That's why.
When the best thing about him was the person who I truly like. man, he looked like, I thought, okay, he's this big superstar. He's probably not going to be very approachable. And I got more things signed by him than, I don't know, like my uncle took it all. I wish I had it now, but it's just like, he wanted dinners with the team. And, I just,
your uncle's got all the Marios. How'd you
got all the paraphernalia. He took it from me, but anyways, that's a different story. But he wanted dinners, like any place where, you know, he wasn't so visible, because he didn't want to bring attention all the time. So it was tough in Toronto, Montreal, and, you know, Canadian cities. But like and we played with Marc Bergevin, and Bergie was his buddy, and Bergie would set up the meals, and it'd be one of those meals where, you know, everybody's having a nice glass of wine and, you know, eating, and then all of a sudden the tables are aside and now it's a dance bar, right? And it was just fun, and Mary wanted to be a part of it, and it was awesome because he was our owner. So we'd be like drinking and hanging out with them, and it's like 2 a.m. We play the next night, and it's like, well, the owner's there. Like, hey, man, we're staying. Like, this is awesome. Like, but Mario just was like, he played cards for 25 cents, or he just wanted to be part of the action and one of the boys, and you know, and it was great. I mean, I had one chance to play with him on his line, and I remember him telling me in the morning, he's like, playing the Bruins, and he just said, Dono, he goes, when I get, you know, in the D zone, you're probably going to have to do a little bit of the work. He didn't probably say probably. He said, you're going to do a bunch of the work in the D zone. He goes, once you get the puck, I'll be up by the red line. He goes, you get it to me, you just truck along to the net and make sure your stick's on the ice, and I'll find you. I swear that's what he told me. And I'm going to bed, and I'm so nervous because I'm going to get to play with Mario Lemieux. And it's just probably too nervous than I should be. But anyways, I get to the rink, and all of a sudden they put Sean McKenna on his line. And he got 2 goals that night.
Big McKenna.
Yeah, Mike Kent. Yeah. The big boy, the big tough guy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, what a great guy.
Because I just looked up to see if you had assisted or scored a goal assisted by Mario Lemieux, or the other way around. No,
those guys are so good. Like, remember Sergei Fedorov? How good Sergei Fedorov was?
Oh, it was. Don't you remember? Like, I remember going to Detroit, and they had those 21 years of making playoffs in a row, and it felt like I played against them every year. And you'd start the game, and you're just like, guys, we're not going to touch a puck for 6 minutes probably. So don't get too excited, and don't take a penalty, because you're going to want to kill Draper and Maltby. Yeah. And that's the way the game plan started. And then all of a sudden they had the puck. Then Maltby and Draper would be in donkeys out there. So somebody take a whack at them. Now you're in the penalty box. Now they score. And now you're like, even matter Maltby and Draper. So you get them again. Now you're back in the box. And before you know it, it's 4-0. And you're like, the game's out of hand. This is stupid.
I got a similar story when I was in Detroit for I played 20 games there, and I wasn't playing much. I'm on D. They're playing 5, and then Bowman's like, York, get up here, play forward. And I'm like, what? I don't really play forward. And he's like, get on Fedorov's line. I look, there's Fedorov beside me. Yorkie, go to net, stick on ice. Same thing. It's the same thing. That's all he wanted me to do. Go to net, stick on ice. But I got a shift with him. I got 3 shifts. Went 2-on-1, stick on the ice, boom, off the stick in. Like, those guys were just at a different level.
They could truly change your career. If you got a chance to play with Sergei Fedorov, like, for a full season, you'd score like 25 goals minimum, you know, like, and just change your
I'm a D that never played forward, and I got to play 2 shifts, and I got a goal.
The D are smart in the forwards anyways. So
well, I was doing all the back checking. Actually, Fedorov back check too. I'll give him that. He actually worked pretty hard sometime.
What a transition, Detroit, right? Like, you got to see through my career, and you've seen too, mostly. Like, I mean, you got to play there too. It's just like how they needed to get tougher. You know, like, they had the big boys for a while, but then their whole team, I mean, they bring in Shanahan and LaPointe, and you look at their back end with Pusher and Ward, and they just, like, you look at those teams, and then you see that 90-minute special or whatever they had, 60-minute special on, like, the Colorado Detroit series, and man, they could play any way you wanted. I just remember them as a high-flying, obviously incredibly talented Detroit Red Wings, but they had to fight, because back then you had you still do in the game, actually. Like, if you're a good team, you're going to have to prove yourself physically too, and they did.
Dono, it's amazing, because we all thought, let's go back, 5 or 6 years ago, the league was getting so soft. It was soft, and everybody was like, okay, it's going to be all skill. It's going to be YouTube toe drags, Michigan moves. But now look who's winning all the time. Like, go back and look at the teams that have won recently. Florida, Vegas, St. Louis, even the way Washington played when they won. Like, it's almost like the games, it's not going all the way back to the way it was. But to your point, you need a tough, tight, close team that will play playoff hockey now. Like you're not winning with just skill anymore.
Well, you talk to everybody in the league, and now the big thing is you just need Big D that can defend. Like in the regular season, you get away with maybe being, because you have to have enough skill to get in the playoffs. But then all of a sudden playoffs happen, the rules change, and you need the horses back there. You look at the Tampa team; everybody thinks of them as that high-skilled Stamkos, Kucherov, but in the end, they won with their D. McDonough, Chernak, Bergosian, Shen. Like these are some heavy, even their skill guys. Hedman played harder because of that decor. And it comes down to being heavy and hard now. And you have to have enough skill to get it. I mean, I just look at New Jersey a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, where they had a good season. They're skilly and wow, they're just taking over the league. And then all of a sudden, New York Rangers kind of punches them in the face and they don't respond. And they got to go get McDermott. And now all of a sudden they're turned into like a tougher team and they're having more success because their GM had to respond to them being challenged physically and not accepting the challenge. And now the Rangers are softer than Jersey, and Jersey's better than them. And Rangers have to get tougher, like if they want to compete against them. It's just the way the game. That's just the way the league works.
And that's when Brian Murray thought the same thing and then tried to find every tough guy and put him on the lineup. Zenon Konopka, Matt Kassian, Jeremy Oblonsky. Fuck, there was everybody. Anyway.
Well, the thing, though, is with those teams, is I always remember, I wasn't playing then, but it's like with Karks and Nealer and those guys, like you said. But like when they would play games and they were up by a goal or all of a sudden they're down by a goal, and then the other team would score that second one, they would never score the third goal. They had the most comebacks that season of anybody in the league because the other team's like, boys, we don't really want to make this a 3-goal difference because they're going to unleash the hounds. And in the end, they would score a goal. Now it's a 1-goal lead, tie the game up. And then also, I thought they won a ton of games that year just because they did have that meat there. And the other teams were like, we're not running up the score, no chance, because we don't want to deal with this.
Dono, I remember Nealer told that same kind of story. We were out at the Winchester Arena. There was a hot stove going on, and Liam asked him a question about that. And he goes, yeah, when we got up in games, they didn't want to run it up because they had me, we had Karks, we had Konopka. They turned into a gong show. I remember one team I was on in Ottawa. We were playing Washington. This is a long time ago. They had Chris Simon, Brendan Witt, Mark Tenorti, Dale Hunter, Craig Berube. And we were winning 4-2 in the third period. Then we made it 5-2. Then the bench started getting a little nervous. And it's 6-2. And all of a sudden there's a 5-on-5 brawl and Dale Hunter's banging Reds' head off the ice.
Well, it's a third, fourth liner, bottom end D at those times. Like, it's coming. You just know that, like, if you run up the score, those guys were coming out and they were coming for blood, and it was like, you're gonna have to be involved. And it was like, don't do it. Come on, don't. Like I just remember Brian Marchman. I played with him in Calgary for 1 year, and I remember we were beating the Leafs pretty good in Calgary. And then all of a sudden, Brian always looked like he was going the wrong way on the ice, how physical he was. Like there's a flow to a game. Then all of a sudden it's like, where's he? A bang, somebody's dead on the ice, right? And I remember he crushed Matt Sundin. We were up by like 3 or 4. And then all of a sudden he crushes them, a huge hit. And it was like, okay, boys, there was kind of a nice game. It was kind of finishing nice. There wasn't much happening. We're going to get our win. No, just a brawl right to the end of the game. Fights everywhere. I was like, no.
Okay, I got to get to. There's a couple of things. I'm not going to get through the entire nerd report today because you two talk too much. I want to ask you a couple of things before we go. One, by the way, for those who don't know, Shean Donovan opened the scoring in the 08-09 season, scoring the first goal in Sweden.
Do you remember that, Dono? Do you remember that?
I always tell everybody, because I remember all my goals probably, is that I think I was the first guy ever to score a regular season game goal in Europe.
You might be. Yeah, because all the other ones were exhibition time.
That's my only claim to fame. And I scored the first goal in practice in the Prudential Center. I jumped on the ice first. We were the first team to practice there, and I scored a goal right away. So I have that record also.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I want to ask you two. I've been waiting to have you on to ask you about this particular one piece of work that you two did together that may go down in history as some of the best television ever.
Oh,
Jake?
Oh, and the star of the show, hey? Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. I love it too.
How'd Whitey
Don
get in
White-
there? Hey,
Don
You
White,
got an
Don
award
White
for
Allen.
that. That was well done, Yorkie. Hey.
yeah, that was. Where'd we do that? Up in one of the suites at the rink.
Oh yeah, we did. Got a Weiser's
That-
bottle out of it, so that's nice.
Yeah, I actually took that. I grabbed the pipe as a last minute prop. I don't know where it came from. It was like a corn cob. I'm like, give me that pipe. This is going to work well for the commercial. Yeah, no, it was good. It actually looks like the real commercial.
Yeah, it looked good.
It's really good work. Okay. Finally, before I let you go, World Juniors are coming to Ottawa. You played on the 1995 team, which is sometimes regarded, it used to be until the last couple of years, as the best team ever assembled. You probably still agree with that. Here is a picture, I don't know if you remember this, of you winning the gold medal and the celebration afterwards. You in the background of Ed Jovanovski and Jeff O'Neill in perhaps the ugliest sweaters. Yeah, O-Dog with the sweater on. That is horrendous.
Yeah, that looks a little. That was lucky that year because that was back when you used to do the 7 games, like you played every team once. And we actually won the gold medal because we went undefeated. Like we won the game medal after game 6, so we got to celebrate. And then we won game 7 and we got to celebrate again. So we got a double celebration. So it was nice. And I always remember Special Ed because he played in Windsor. But they called anyways. I remember he was so mad because the Americans would call him Special Ed. And he was blaming us, but there was a bunch of guys that played with him played in the league against him on there. But he was so mad after the game. He's like, "Who said that? Who said the name they call me?" Or whatever. Anyways, it was, but what a great group of guys! Like, what a fun time! I remember it because it was like the lockout year, and Dave came and joined us, and that was great. But I just remember that it was supposed to be in Red Deer, and most of the games were there. But I remember we played 1 game in Edmonton, 1 game in Calgary because the NHL lockout was going on. And I remember going to we didn't know, we thought it'd be an empty barn in Edmonton. We had no idea because World Juniors wasn't as big as it is now. But Red Deer was sold out. Then we went up to Edmonton. We were playing Finland, and it was jammed. There was red flags everywhere. It was the coolest atmosphere ever, and it was incredible. And then we went to Calgary, and it was maybe even better. We played Czechs there, and it's just just to get to play for your country and have that kind of fans. It was just incredible. It was awesome.
Can't believe how much you look like. Put that photo back up for a sec, Jake. You look just like Rylan there, your son, eh? It's the same face.
Poor kid. Yeah, I know. That's when I'm skinny, I do look like him.
How are the Kempville 73s doing right now? For those who know, Dono's assistant coach of the 73s. What's going on with the team?
Big win last night.
Big win last night. Yes, big win. So we're up and down, and we're really good kids, and kind of just trying to find some consistency. Right now, we're doing pretty good against some teams, and some teams are having struggles against. So but it's a close league. You win a couple games, and you're almost at the top, and you lose a few, but good league and so much fun to coach that age group. Pretty receptive to me. Good, really receptive to Sean Fensel. The kids are in, but it's fun. It's just they want to get better and they want to move on. So it's fun to be with them.
Yeah, so much fun. I miss it. It's a fun league to coach in. Is Rylan still taking 100 breakaways before practice?
He loves it. He just loves getting on the ice. It's so hard in the NHL and anywhere now just to get a goalie to stay after for 3-on-3 or take breakaways. But
he'll do it.
Riley will do it. He'll take it forever. You actually got to drag him off the ice. It's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, what a great kid.
Okay,
Donald's younger son's a goalie. For those that don't know, heart of a lion.
Stupid position.
And the Jorian kid seems to be okay too.
He's not bad. He's not bad.
Last thing, when you see like a picture like this, I'm gonna wonder what the memories are like for you as they flood back here with Heatley coming back.
Oh,
but by the way, I think it looks like you're falling. But
yeah, probably yeah. Was I out there? It was like, so I guess we got a point. I must have came off the bench and hustled in there for the cheer. But the memories are just incredible players. Like, I mean, when they got to play together, like you said, it was magic because they were so good. Like it's too bad because we play lots of charity events and those really, really high end guys don't usually come out because, I mean, they played and they've done it and we come out and, we're all right players, but like, just when you get to see high end players and when they get to play together, just like Yorkie was talking about Fedorov, when you go to the net and you have your stick on the ice and Fedorov will get it to you. Well, these 3 guys played together and they could all do it. So then they would match up against the other team's best line and it's just special. That's why they're getting celebrated tonight because they're a special line, special players that can make special plays. And the numbers they put up were incredible together, and it's a huge part of the Center's history and a good part.
Did you guys joke, by the way, in the locker room afterwards about getting more pizza or free pizza or anything because it became such a thing in the city?
Not really, to be honest. Like I never referred to them as a pizza line. I just thought of them as like our best line. Like just put them together so we can get some goals. We never. No, never. Just kind of were happy when they were out there together because we knew good things were going to happen. Sorry.
That's okay. Appreciate your time because
hold on while I get a couple. I got a very important question to ask Dono.
Oh,
I need to know, where are the heater jeans? Are they still around? The heaters. Now, for those that don't know, I'll have to backtrack this story here. So when Dono and I used to live on the same street, it was the same street, but for some reason we were in different districts. We lived 200 yards away, but Dono was in Carp and I was in Canada. So we used to have parties in the neighborhood and we used to get together. And Dono had these great pair of jeans. They were his number ones. We called them the number ones. Whenever we had a Christmas party or a special event, these jeans were on, and Dono's butt looked like $1 million. It just fit perfect. So then all of a sudden we found out they weren't even your jeans. Like
somehow we had a night one night on a bus, and I can't remember where or when, but Heater left his jeans. I don't know how that happened, but somehow I ended up with them because usually I'm the guy losing the jeans, but I inherited the jeans. And back then they were probably like $200. They'd be worth like $1,000 now, but they were awesome. I love them. I wore those things for like 5 years. Easy.
The number ones. Anytime special occasion, he had even our good buddy Mark Noonan. Hey, Dono, you got the heaters on tonight? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Jake, we have I'm curious if we have a picture of these. There is are these the jeans?
That might
Those are too baggy. The heaters fit I remember the heaters. Anytime there was something, the wives went for dinner, we were on a special thing. Everybody would come, and I remember Noonan, hey, Dono, you got the heaters on, eh? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I wore those things. I wore them right off. They didn't have nothing left to them. But man, I enjoy them. They got their use.
That's so good. Dono, thanks for stopping by. It's been a long time. We appreciate it.
We're gonna have to do a part two. We're gonna have to do a part two.
Oh yes.
More stories.
Anytime, boys. I'm done chores and everything. It's great. Perfect.
Perfect. Good luck.
We didn't even get into the farming, for God's sake. Well,
I know
there's Dono's up at 5 a.m. He's working on the farm. Then he goes down to the rink at 9 to skate some of the guys. Then he's got to get ready to coach practice. He's got a full day. It's amazing he fit us in.
Full load. Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate it then. So we'll take care of you, but I'd love to have you back on because I've got more questions and more pictures. Take care. We'll see you at the rink. Good luck with your junior team this year.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Jeremy. That was fun.